stuff too. So yeah.
And where are you located?
I'm in Southern California. I'm from Sweden originally. Moved here about 10 years ago. So yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. So you Canadian, right?
Yeah, I'm Canadian. My parents are Scottish, so
Okay.
a little bit different than the average Canadian because of that.
Yeah.
But Southern Ontario is where I'm from.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have the cold climate. I grew up in that too, so now I've had enough of it. So now I live in Southern California. Yeah.
I don't blame you. Yeah, we have a cold spell right now, but it's not terribly cold. But it's been a pretty warm summers or warm winters for winters here.
People complain when it goes below 20 degrees Celsius here. People put on mittens and beanies and stuff. So when it gets just below. When it's not summer, the Scandinavian summer temperature, people start complaining and say it's cold here. So yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it's funny.
It is funny.
Okay. Alrighty, everyone. I know we're a few minutes early, but that's okay.
That's good. Yeah.
It's always good to be a few minutes early. Why not? Got people rolling in here. Expecting a big crowd. It's still stuttering? Jeez. It's got to be on their end, and hopefully it'll clean up, Cardman, because I got no drop frames on my end, so it's got to be Twitch. It's got to be a lot of Twitch traffic tonight.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got no. It's definitely not on my end. I'm running a clean stream. So.
Yes, it can be tricky some days.
We're all beholden to the technology.
Yep.
Yeah, isn't it? And what will happen is that since I'm partnered, I'll get the bandwidth will be dedicated more and more as the stream comes on.
Oh yeah, he gets preferential treatment.
Yeah.
When I stream on Friday nights, when my neighbors start watching Netflix, then things tend to dip a bit, and then it goes back up again.
Thanks, Baker.
Yeah.
It's good to see everyone. Alright, let's come live. Coming live as people are rolling in here. Good to see you all. I know we're a few minutes early, but we can just BS a little bit here. So, all right. Good evening on a Sunday night. I'm J.K. Lord Gazumba, back for another Gabbin with my partner in crime, the legendary Anna B. Meyer. I want to welcome a very special guest tonight. Met him about a month and a half ago at Page, a great publisher of a great story. Reminds me of me a little bit, but with a little different direction, because I think we share some of the same interests, which is really cool. Dr. Greg Gillespie. So, Greg, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I'm a big fan. I'm looking forward to tonight.
Well, thank you so very much for coming on. I know, we have those Canadian legends. Like we have Canadian Ancient Gamer who watches us. We got Ed Greenwood. We're going to add you to the mix now here, Greg.
Well, that's great company.
Thank you. Where are you located?
So I'm located in the Niagara region of Southern Ontario, about 20 minutes away from the border with Western New York.
Okay.
Sounds
good. So you is that 2 hours from Ottawa?
From where?
Ottawa. About you gotta understand. I have a terrible South Jersey accent. So yeah, you're not gonna understand half the stuff I say. Oh, Patrick, thank you. 2 hours from Ottawa, about an hour from Toronto.
Oh no, a very far drive to Ottawa, probably in the 5 to 6 hour range.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm equidistant between Toronto.
Okay,
if that's helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I've been to the Hockey Hall of Fame. I made that trip. I saw Bernie Perrant's mask. That made my day. So. Everyone, so this is what we're going to do. As normal, we have a special guest on, go over some background, some history, ask some questions. We want your audience to participate. And Patrick says 6 hours. Wow. And Greg is going to be kind enough to give away two things tonight, and that is a hardback copy of his Dragon Slayer brand new RPG, which we want to dedicate a lot of the discussion to tonight. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. And a PDF. So I've upped it. So subs get a couple extra tickets on these, okay? For giveaways, everyone. So we want to make. Let me set that up here. Be the wrong button, I promise, and then we'll get that raffle going. And I'll go to the end. You have to be on the claim tonight. Absolutely have to be on. There we go. We are good. It is set in there. And normally I don't crash the stream, Greg, when I do this. So 20 different things that are going on. So yeah, it'll be a really great discussion. So Anna, what do you know about Greg and what he does?
I just watched one of the interviews you did for Roll for Combat a little while ago. Now that was a lot of cool stuff and some interesting, I would say, the angle you approach gaming and rule systems and stuff that I think is really cool. That I want to ask some questions about that later. So that was really that was a lot of it. It's one of many awesome new takes on old school role playing that I think we're being blessed with in the game being right now, which I think is really, really cool. So, and then you have that barrel maze. That sound, just the name alone of that book you have behind you seems really, really cool about that later too. So yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this.
And we'll shout out Greg's I'll shout out Greg's location on Drive Through RPG a lot tonight. So is that your main place where you do business?
Okay. That's right. Yeah.
Very cool.
All in one spot.
Jay's fine. Calling me sir is like, calling, you understand. I think so. We've seen it all. When did you start? Like, how old were you? How did you get into this trap of the lifelong love of gaming?
Yeah, I was probably about 9, so in the very early 1980s, and a friend of mine had told me about this game that knights and things of that nature, and a friend of his played. So I was invited over to my friend's house on the weekend, and we walked down to his friend's place a couple houses down, and we went in, of course, into the basement because that's where all good D&D origin stories begin. And it was like a kid's room in the basement, and they had this huge table, and on the center of it was this like big, huge fruit bowl filled with polyhedral dice. It was actually kind of heaping with polyhedral dice. And I just saw that and I'm like, what is this? Like, I had this game and play this game, and that started a lifelong love affair, really.
What year was that?
That was probably 1981 or 1982.
Right, in the Calori era.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Same with me, man. 78. Someone brought in of Holmes Basic, man, and that was it.
Yeah, it was a winter 79-80 for me. I was 15. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just
I was dragged into a game and I didn't like it the first one, and I did maybe the first and the second session I didn't get it, but then after that I understood what the concept was, what the possibilities were, and then I was hooked.
We all had no idea what we were doing back then. Remember that, Greg? We were like, we're just going to make rooms up. We're going to put graph paper, right, scroll up. There's going to be 2 dragons in here, 10 ogres in this room. I mean, that's the way it was back then.
We did. So the thing is, I was in a French immersion class. So we were English speaking, but all my subject matter was in French. So I was pretty accustomed to getting my homework and then doing it in English, and then sitting with a French-English dictionary, translating it into French. So then when I got the AD&D Player's Handbook and the DM Guide and so on and so forth, sitting down translating High Gygaxian was very similar. So I had an encyclopedic dictionary that would kind of, you'd see like an in-world wizard using or something like that. So I would be sitting down with the Player's Handbook and the DM Guide with this huge encyclopedic dictionary trying to translate what exactly he was trying to say. And so there was that part of it, and like some of the were obfuscated quite a bit, and then we put our young intellects together trying to decipher what exactly he meant. And I think a lot of people did exactly the same thing, and what it meant was there were a lot of variations in how you played during that time.
No, you're dead on. You're dead on with that. Like, if you go into that Dungeon Master's Guide, AD&D, and you open that up, the first 10 pages are like bell curves and what are you talking? It was like confusing. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I had to go to Gothenburg and get to the biggest bookstore to get like an English-Swedish dictionary that had any chance of translating it. And I remember I took the DM guide to my English. She asked what olfactory meant, and she didn't have a clue what that was, and she was almost angry at me for asking that.
Very clear at the time that Gygax was way up here, and I was way down here. But it was a challenge. It's like speaking and what are these $5 words, and why is he writing the way that he's writing? And so that was a
Yeah.
game unto itself, just to translate that, and before you even actually get to rolling dice.
Yeah, and then it's interesting follow-up question. What kind of tone have you want to set in Dragon Slayer? Do you want to have that kind of elevated, almost academic language and stuff, or is it, or how do you set a tone if you want to publish your own version of a role-playing game, so to speak?
Well, I take a different approach than Gygax would. So
Yeah.
I think that the people who can take something very communicate it in as few words as possible are the
Yeah.
people who really have distilled what they're trying to say.
Mhm.
So if it also depends as a writer, who's your audience?
Yeah.
Good point.
Right. So if you're writing a rule book, you're not just writing for people that could, if a teenager who's 13 or 10 or whatever picks this up,
Yeah.
are they going to be able to make sense of it? And you don't want the language to be a barrier. That doesn't mean you're writing down to anyone, but you can communicate things in plain language. And let's face it, there are a lot of rules that can happen in a role-playing game, and I don't think we need to make the language a barrier to do that.
Good point.
Yep. Good point.
So you're 9, it's 81, 82. How long does the gaming part of pre-career go? Like, does it go for 10 years, 20 years? You get another career going on before that. You're like, man, I want to write my own content. When's that happen?
Well, we were doing that almost immediately. Like, as you pointed out, like you'd that in one room waiting there to be killed, and then in the next room you'd have 4 cloud giants randomly. But that's how we were just trying to make sense of it at the time. But we quickly moved to the published adventures. We because we also read the Dragonlance books at the time, and the modules were coming out one by one. We'd play those. And those are kind of handy because we play at recess or at lunchtime, and you could pick those up and put them down. And it was just a plain old railroad, but we didn't know any better, and we were just having fun.
Yeah.
So what I did at the time was, we had like Moldvay Basic, and the engine to Moldvay Basic kind of made sense to us. And then as we got for AD&D, we were like, well, clearly AD&D is just way cooler, but we don't really understand counting segments, and we don't really understand how that's supposed to work. So what we did is we kept the engine of Moldvay Basic, and then we used the classes and the races, and we used the spells, and we used the magic items, and of AD&D by the book, so to speak, because the segments part just didn't ever really appeal to me once we did understand it. But I did play a lot of played second edition all the way through the 90s, and we counted segments, and it was painful.
Yep.
And I don't want to ever go back to counting segments in a role-playing game.
Weapon speeds were terrible when we tried that too.
I agree 100%. I've never used, and anyone who plays in my games know, if you've never heard the word segment come out of my mouth, right, Anna, ever in my game.
You never
not
used
once,
it.
not similar. Keep everything to rounds, keep everything to feet. I don't want to go between feet indoors, yards outdoor. Just feet. Everything. Weapon speed factor. Weapons versus armor class. Oh my god, it's too confusing. You're out.
It up anyway. And so the other part to remember too, like, so in thinking, asking Annie asked about things that I wanted to do is, like, let's understand that AD&D was created because Guy Gabbin, right?
Yeah.
That's the reason it was created. Now, that's the reason why we have a lot of additional rules that quite honestly are not very good. And later, like, do you wish you included psionics in the core book? He's like, no. And he had a whole bunch of house rules that were quite opposite to AD&D. So I think we need to just understand game. It's a generational achievement. Having said that, some parts of it are just there because he wanted to create a game that was different for royalty reasons, and I understand that. But that doesn't mean we can't be reasonable, and we can't give Gygax his respect, but also be reflective. Work at the table. Were they fun to play? Did they move the game along? And if the answer is no, then we don't need to carry them forward. We can move forward with a more simple engine.
Yeah,
I agree 100%. It's like, gosh, I'm not bashing anyone. Right? This is never meant to bash, even though it may sound like it. A good DM back in the day, in the 1E2 era, the rules are there, and you had to snip from the tree. those, you had to cut them out, and then you had, because you didn't want the game to drag. Man, that's it. I didn't want to turn it into a math session. It's a math session now with hits and I still use Thaco, believe it or not. So that's the one thing I do. But we picked it out, and that's what I think a good DM does is your style. It's your DM style, right? It's what you love about, and we'll talk about this, basic and 1E/2E together.
Yeah, like there's more people than not of our generation that played exactly the way I just described.
Yeah.
And having said that, now that doesn't mean it hasn't been iterated. Having said that, each author, each designer distills these things in the manner that makes, and what I've tried to do in the book is distill the game that gave rise to Barrow Maze, that gave rise to the other mega dungeons that I've played, that we've been playing so long in this style that you see in the pages of Dragon Slayer that we just don't even think twice about it anymore. And it's been great. I mean, we've had so much fun, and my players have been great. Like if I said to them, like, I have this tweak. Can we just try it out? And they've always been very willing to, give my crazy ideas a go. And so the credit's really to them for letting me drag them along with me at times.
GaryCon Live just rated in. Thank you so very much, Garner, and the crew over there at GaryCon. Looking forward to seeing you all very, very soon. What a wonderful going on today. We got Dr. Greg Gillespie here. We're going to be talking this Dragon Slayer RPG book that just recently came out. It's awesome. And please feel free to ask questions. Plus, Greg is kind enough to give away a hardback copy. It's your point drawing, but you have to be on to win at the end. So, welcome. So why don't we talk about like early? Go ahead, Anna. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going. You are called Maze Controller. That's an interesting. You brand it, and it's kind of cool. What the term? It seems to be like you emphasize dungeon play and that, or is it? Yeah. What? How come the term? Yeah.
Well, it comes from Mazes and Monsters, the early 80s.
The movie with Tom Hanks. That's awesome.
Game Master's just kind of boring. I mean, yeah, we can use it, but yeah. And so that's part of the reason why. Just to hit that nail on the head.
Like that it's yeah. I also like that it's emphasized that you control the maze or the dungeon rather than the characters or the players. So I think the reference in that sense is very...
Yeah, and the acronym MC, Master of Ceremonies, Maze Controller, kind of works.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, what a cheesy movie that was, but it was so great because it was just.
I haven't seen it. I've been kind of I might want to see it. Yeah.
Chris Makepeace is in that and all. Yeah, and Tom Hanks goes insane in it. Yeah, it's a classic. It's like probably embarrassed that he did it now, but I mean he did a lot of comedy back then. So.
An undergraduate course called The History and Culture of Role-Playing Games, and in there we have a section on the Satanic Moral Panic, and I show clips from Tom Hanks's early career, which that movie I think was his first or second, just dreadful. But my point is not only to show how the Satanic Moral Panic was portrayed in film, but also to show Tom Hanks and like, hey, everyone started somewhere. I mean, he didn't become a super.
That's so true. I'm looking to see if I have that picture of them holding that super big figure with but it must be on my second hard drive. Yeah, because I know we've talked about that before, that movie. So you run through the 80s, I'm assuming, get through college, and when's that like moment? Like, man, I want to form my
own. So it was really with third edition, gave it a go. And then saw the Strange, open gaming license at the back. And then when, that started to take off in the early 2000s, late 2001s, then it just became clear to me that, we can create or back convert the OGL to create our own content and move forward. And that was really sort of the first blossoming of the OSR. Then a second blossoming with when people decided that some people decided that fourth edition wasn't their game, and then we're on with in the post kind of OGL era in the last calendar year, and the dust hasn't settled yet. But we're just on the cusp of another flowering right now, in my opinion.
I agree. So earlier on in chat, Lando the Archmage said, "I am playing Barrow Maze, but I'm using CNC rules." So there you go. He's playing Barrow Maze. Lando, if you're on, how long has that been going on, and how long do you think it will continue to go on in your game? So it's good. It's good to hear that your publications already. That some of them have been out 10, 20 years now.
Well, Barrow Maze had its 10th anniversary edition a year or two ago. So yeah, it's been Barrow Maze has really found its place. Like it was #1 on drive-through for months. It was crazy, and people just have really enjoyed it. And one of the unique things about Barrow Maze is I put little shadow boxes in there where I speak directly as running the game. And you can play test things until you're blue in the face, but players, are so smart and savvy that they're going to come up with things that you never anticipated. Shadow boxes, I spoke to a couple of those just to say to the person running the game, like, okay, so when I ran this room, this is what happened, and I totally didn't anticipate it, but learn from my mistake, and you can apply that wisdom in your own game. And I think people appreciated that kind of self-deprecation.
That's good. Yeah.
Do you have your own campaign setting where Barrow Maze takes place?
Yes, I do. So what I do is I've used the outdoor survival map, a version of that Gygax used to originally place Castle Greyhawk.
Oh, the original. Wow.
Yeah. So that's as old school as things get.
Yeah.
And so I've created this 32 or 34 by 34 full color poster map, and it's all designed to my game world, and all the mega dungeons are located
That is cool.
in there. Yeah, so it's going to be pretty awesome. So that'll come forward probably in 2025.
So let me see if I can bring that up here real quick. Oh, what do you know? Wilderness Survival, the Wilderness, right? This one?
No. So
okay.
Google outdoor survival.
Okay.
If you go to Google Maps, for example, and do outdoor survival, it was just a board game, and Gygax used it because it was hexed out. So it was kind of one of the first places where they did. Can you go to images?
Outdoor survival images. Okay.
Or map.
Okay,
that's interesting. There we go. That one.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
So that's like 1/6 of
Blackgate Articles, the Secret Supplements of Greyhawk, Gygax, and
art. So you have
wow, did not know that.
So it's a tip of the cap to where the hobby started, and so that's again about another 6. If you look at the image just down from that one there, you'll see. Go up one.
Yeah.
There you are.
No.
There you go. There's the whole map.
There's the whole map. Oh, wow.
So it's in 3 pane map, and then you put the 3 panes together, and that's what you get.
Huh. So it was like a Divine Right game, except it was on a different board map, or was it?
No, it wasn't a fantasy game. So there are little sections on there for deer and basically surviving in the wilderness. So and it was hex mapped, so then you could use it for outdoor.
And like the classic hex scroll. Yeah.
So did Gary see this and say to Darlene, "This is what I want"?
I think that I haven't spoken to Darlene on the issue. I've worked with Darlene, but I would say this was probably for the Greyhawk map.
I see so many similarities now when I see it. That is like, yes.
Yeah. So Darlene's map is, of course, the king mother of all maps, and it's amazing. And this was like the proto Greyhawk.
Greg, you just taught me something I didn't know. I mean, seriously, I knew nothing about this.
This is so cool.
Wow, that's amazing. So Lando says it's Avalon Hill. Is that correct, Lando? Okay. All right. I bought it in Oak Lynn. Wow, they had it there, Michael? Wow. I never heard of this board game, Wilderness Skills.
Yeah, so if you're looking at that map and you can visualize the bottom left-hand quadrant, the southwestern section there, that's where Barrow Maze is located.
Okay. Wow. That is amazing. That is
And so the people who know, and the people that don't know. So
Yep.
people have appreciated that. I know your Greyhawk.
Oh my God, yeah, that is so. Wow, that's just like we get weird tidbits, Greg, every like 6 months that I find out something that's
yeah, we have new
amazing.
cool guests that they come with some little tidbit that we can build our understanding of how this actually came to be. It's great.
Yeah, the
Oh
top
yeah,
of
Greyhawk is so inspiring, and
Yeah.
portfolio and things of that
Yeah.
nature. That's something I've carried into my book. So with each little region that I have for each megadent, there you go. That's it. That's exactly the one I have. So all that
Yep.
little heraldry, I've incorporated that kind of thing, not in color, but in black and white for each of the regions.
Yep,
for
That is
megadent.
that's so cool. Yeah, it was heraldry and the maps that brought me into Greyhawk. Those were the two concepts really cool, and
Yeah.
got me to fall in love with the setting. And now
Yeah,
I have over 450 heraldry that I've
Yeah.
I've developed like 300 more for
here, some of it's a mix of
Greyhawk
hers
that
and
people
mine.
can
Yeah.
use. Yeah.
amazing. Well, if I actually have the prototype of the map here. I can
Get to
show
the
you.
juicy bits here. This is awesome. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Oh, that is
cool, man.
fantastic. Yeah, you kept
May we ask who the artist is?
Yeah, Glenn Seal.
Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
he was absolutely terrific to work with, amazing person. And
Yep.
you know, when you're doing something that's you know, not only aesthetically you have to have things integrated, but then all the attention to detail, as we all do. If you enjoy a role-playing game, you like attention to detail. So you know, he was very generous with his time, and you know, I know what I want when I look at it, and it's got to be
Yep.
just bang on for me. So, you know, sometimes I can be a little hard to work with that way, but nothing better. And so I take that approach, and I go that way with my writing too.
That's
Well,
cool. That they'll be looking forward to. That looks awesome.
it's a
Yep.
moment as far as new stuff I've learned. It's got to be. I mean, I never
Oh, yeah, this is
realized
great.
that is
Yep.
where the inspiration came from, the Darlene map, because everyone
Yep.
knows Darlene map is the holy grail of all of the
It's
fantasy game settings.
yeah, it's the original, so to speak. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it was just so inspiring in the time, and I, you know, I haven't spoken again. I do have contact with Darlene, but I'm fairly, I feel reasonable. It was at least a point to say, Darlene, here's a starter, away you go. And then of course her map stands alone, of course.
Because she showed us how she had to manually layer everything. There was
Yes.
no.
Well, she used
like,
she cut out. I've heard listen in her seminars and talked to her several times about it, and it's amazing. She sat there for months and she cut out these things and then painted the mountains over the big letters, so she didn't have to draw as many mountains and stuff. That was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and she did a number of illustrations as well, and also some monster illustrations, and it's important for me. Like I needed when you stand back from you know, a 300-page work, you need to ask yourself different questions. Does it lean too heavy one way? Does it lean too heavy the other? What is it missing? And some games we can be missing some feminine energy, to be perfectly honest. So that was one of the things I wanted her to do, is to bring that to balance some of the other illustrations from other people.
I love hearing the credits you do. Interior art XTSR. You give them a little special bump here.
Yeah.
And Darlene and Diesel, Eric Holtz, and Jan Liebe are all there. That's really neat. That is really fantastic.
And they deserve it, of course, and they're legends. She's the queen of gaming. She's just so friendly and kind, and she's been very generous with her time, and I appreciate her very much.
She coming this year, Anna? Do you know? Is she going to be there this year?
I think she is.
Okay.
I think she is, because she is going to launch a Kickstarter. So I think she's going.
Yeah,
excellent.
She's spoken to me about that. Yeah.
Very, very cool. We're going to get to that.
We can mention it when it gets a little bit, when we know more details and stuff. We can mention it now. She's supposed to come out with a Kickstarter soon. I don't know the details much yet, but so we'll promote it when we know more. We will promote it here. So yeah.
Yeah, she shared some details with me, but I don't want to say anything.
Right.
So
with me too, but I don't want to say too much.
Well, if you notice above, all I use is Greyhawk Gothic on this show because we got the and I got the rights to use it. So
Oh yeah, that was
yeah,
a font that
Yeah.
Darlene kind of helped her
From the
promote
Mac.
it and
Yep.
and gave her a contribution to do it and helped her a little bit with the technical
Thanks,
bits, and she
Patrick.
did all the artistics, getting the Greyhawk font, and now it's
That's
free
great. The
for download.
fonts matter for sure. You know.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So first ever publication, man. What was it? And like, and what year? And you're like,
Yeah.
man, I wish I'd improved on this.
Academic or gaming?
Gaming. I know. I imagine academic is a doctor to get your doctorate. And what is your doctorate, if I may ask?
So I'm a historian.
Okay.
And my dissertation was on who came to the Canadian West to hunt the buffalo in the 1840s,
wow.
1850s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway,
Very
that's
cool.
kind of what I did was I revised that dissertation into a book with the University of British Columbia Press, and that came out in, I want to say, 2008. And once I was done, so that kind of a book on top of a research program, you kind of like put a bow on it and then you put it away and you move on to something else. And you do so in
Yep.
cycles of about 6 or 7 years. And at that point, I was like, you get sick of a topic in academic terms. I was like, I never want to deal with hunting again, because not that I just was sick of it. I had read everything and I didn't want to do it anymore. And I thought, there's been this resurgence in old school gaming. So this is like 2008, 2009, 2010. So then I thought, I want to look at nostalgia and fantasy role-playing games. So that's what I did, and worked with a grad student in the area. And we put one of my friends that I was gaming with at the time said, why don't you just write your own game? And I was like, that's a great idea. Why don't I do that? And then and we just extended organically from what I was doing in my home game at the time.
Nice.
So to answer your question, I guess 2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a bunch on here. I have Dweller Deep. What's it? I can't even read my Archaea.
Yeah. Urban Caverns of Archaea.
All are available on drive-through, and I'll keep. So these all link. Is this an ode to Caverns of Archaea, an ode to Thracia?
Yeah, so it's two things. The title is of Janelle and Chiquays with Lost Caverns of Archaea, or Lost Caverns of
Thracia.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
And also Lost Caverns of well. So there's a couple different things there. So what I've tried to do with these various adventures is I'm trying to expand the traditional notion of the mega dungeon. So I know, we're accustomed in the early, the hobby's born in the mega dungeon. I know a lot of your listeners will know that already, but perhaps some don't.
Mm-hmm.
So the hobby was born in the mega dungeon with things like Castle Greyhawk, El Raja Key, and those tentpole style adventures had never really been truly realized in the hobby, playable out of the box. Things like, for example, Undermountain. So Undermountain has probably the most awesome mega dungeon name you could think of, but it wasn't really playable out of the box. And the fact that it's located underneath Waterdeep is kind of a buzzkill. To me, Dungeons and Dragons takes place on the frontier. It's at the periphery where you're exploring strange places and interacting with, strange people and whatever. And to me, that's where the meat and potatoes of adventuring rests. So I've tried to take the traditional notion of the mega dungeon as expressed in levels that correspond to character level, and stretch it and pull it. So Barrow Maze, for example, is I call it a dungeon sprawl. There are no staircases that are specifically signaling to the player you're going down to level 2, or you're down. Yeah. So you can go from the level 1 area and wander into the level 3 area, and you don't actually know that until you start encountering things that are probably beyond your ability to deal with. And so that's more interesting to me, because the emphasis is on exploration, right? You don't know what you're going to find until you actually go and explore it. Then the second one, Archaea, took the notion of the Caves of Chaos and
Yes.
which was great in the early 80s, right? But what happens if you took the Caves of Chaos and you built it into the Grand Canyon? That's what I was shooting
Right.
for.
And you have
Okay,
more
where
around.
you stretch it vertically,
Yeah.
right? Highfell was it took the notion of Keith Parkinson's cover for Dragons of Desolation with the floating floating dungeon, and then the last one, Dwero Deep, was my attempt to make a playable version of Tolkien's Moria that's been situated within the confines of the been done, not in a playable way. So I wanted to find that the interstice between Dungeons and Dragons and Tolkien, because Moria is the first dungeon, right? Moria is the ubiquitous every dungeon, but that's never been created in a playable way. So what Dwero Deep does is it uses the subterranean crawling of, say, the Drow series, the D series from back in the day, and it uses that logic within the confines of a mountainous region that represents Moria from east to west, if you think about how long it would take to traverse from one gate to another.
Okay.
And Ed Greenwood was very kind to write a foreword for that, which is very nice.
World. We were just talking about it today, and I was
Yep.
talking to him about the game we're doing at GaryCon. What a wonderful guy! Just to
so kind and friendly,
Yep.
and he's just, you know, he's been so prodigious in his writing, and I don't know anybody that can match him.
It's amazing. And so Anna and I have a seminar with Ed, and we did it on a fantasy mapping show back.
Yeah.
It's
Now we're going to do it live
Legendary
again.
Maps of Greyhawk and the Realms, and he's going to show stuff from 1968, well before D&D even existed. That he was just unbelievable at GaryCon. Just wonderful, wonderful stuff.
Yep. So we'll be
what a great,
some extra
wonderful
stuff
person.
there, and then we're going to dig into it. Yep.
So a question here. I know now why you revere Janelle Jacques so much, because Thracia and Dark Tower are playable, right? They're playable right out, and both of those are like the mega crawls that Judges Guild came out with. Just, you know, two of my favorites, and, you know, Dark Tower being one of my all-time favorites. It's on my wall of fame. That's much respect there for thinking about that here.
Yeah, that's
definitely.
That's great.
Absolutely, very cool.
I don't know anybody that's not informed either consciously or subconsciously by Janelle Jacques' dungeons. It's just a fact.
Yeah, she was kind of pioneering a new kind of more deeper design thinking about dungeons than just put like one room after the other, so to speak.
I agree 100%.
Dark Tower was so, you had to go through 8 levels of dungeons to get to the tower and go up the tower. Then when you got down to the base of it, and then go back up.
That kind of makes sense if you want to make the tower really hard to get into. That's kind of a smart design to do it. So that think about what if the creatures in this world, how would they construct it for the purpose of the dungeon? Meaning, is a dungeon a way to protect treasure? Is it a defensive outpost? Is it a place, a home for a wizard or a research lab or prison or whatever? And that should guide how it's laid out, so to speak. And the purpose of the dungeon. Like, I always try to think from an in-game perspective, so to speak. Like, okay, these are a bunch of goblins that created for this purpose or something.
Anna wants to know how everything works.
I'm in all about that part. Yeah.
Well, one of the just to jump in there. So again, comparing the kinds of things that I do to what came before it, because we're all in response to what's come before, right? So number one, these mega dungeons, which were inspiring. Like, yes, they are inspiring. So, but number two, they're not playable out of the box. And three, they're like, I don't like a funhouse dungeon. That was fine when you were 9 or 10 or 11, but that I want something themed. I want something that's been carefully considered, not something where, like, for me personally, if there's so little in a mega dungeon box set that I can't bring the environment of the dungeon to bear against the players, then I just don't feel like I'm getting meat on the bone. So the first adversary you're going to face in the stuff that I write is the dungeon itself, the environment of the dungeon. I'm going to bring that to bear against you. Then intellectually, I want to see how are players going to respond to the environment that I've presented. And are they going to make more noise? Well, that's probably going to attract more monsters. Have light and sight discipline and noise discipline. Are they going to do those things? So, and I just, in January, I did sessions online playing Dragon Slayer.
Yeah.
And as you'll see, the primary adversary is the environment itself. It's not the monsters.
I believe that's up on your YouTube, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I checked that out. That was pretty cool. So let me pop that up. So you have a total of 14 setting, but they're all huge, correct? Like Bar Maze is being the biggest. Is that the largest one of all?
No, I wouldn't say so. Well, it depends on what metric you're using. So
Okay.
if you're looking at distance, Dwero Deep is the largest, and it's
Okay.
not close. What I do with each of my dungeons, I have large hex maps that you work through in order to get where you need to go, and then the dungeons are there. So it's always a question of overland or overland travel through hexes, and then procedural dungeon crawling once you're in there.
Okay. Is it Greg Gillespie? It looks like 5814 everyone on YouTube. That's where you want to go if you want to hit this up and hit the subscribe button here. I have, and you can see some of the gameplay that was done.
And the trailer, the one that's in black and white, is pretty rad. If you haven't seen that, it's about.
Well, here we go. We're gonna watch it now.
You have the audio?
Yeah, oh, it is playing.
Yeah, we can't hear it on Zoom, but they did.
Miracle of Chaotic.
So Gygax and I have almost identical initials.
Yeah.
That looks like Ed. Elminster. Nice. Paladin in Hell too, yeah. Got a lot of great references in there.
Just taking the same deck of cards and stuff on it.
Awesome. Who was musicianal music?
Oh, it was so I searched looking for something I could use relative to up by license. So.
Yeah, absolutely, man. you know what'll happen on Twitch or YouTube, man. Yeah.
No, it's all
Strikes.
above board, paid with license. Yeah.
Very, very cool. That's excellent. We're gonna get into showing it. I promise, man. I promise everyone. We're gonna show it. We're gonna go into depths here. I'm trying to tease you all a little bit. We got we got 111 people watching right now, so a pretty good crowd. All right, so the years you're doing all the adventures, and then you're like, I saw it's Labyrinth Lord rules in some of them. I guess that's your majority before.
Yeah. So at the time, going back, 13, 14 years, looking around at what rule sets were available to how I play my home game. But those out there that are familiar with my work will know I've always been writing beyond that rule set, closer that space between where we've always played in my home game. So it just became clear with everything. So I've been working on this for about a year and a half. Like well, it's the game we've always played, but this is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So then when I've been working on this in the background, and then when everything happened with the OGL, this time last for 13 months, I guess, So then it just became clear that this had to happen now. And so I had already been working on, artists were already at work, and I just thought, okay, well, and I wanted to be here, right? So that was an important factor to get it out early in that year, so people can game and honor Gygax and honor the legacy that we have with Dungeons and Dragons and Greyhawk and all the great adventures, and that backwards compatibility was absolutely core to my thought process.
Excellent. So before we start going into the depths of this wonderful publication, does anyone about other adventures or something else for Greg? And then if not, we'll jump right in here. How about you, Anna, too? I want to see what the audience
Yeah,
has.
well, yeah, now we
Got a
want
lot
to
of
get into
commentary
the
going
meat of Dragon
Yeah.
Slayer here. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Sorry, I'm about to cough. That's why I'm sticking
no
this. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I prepared with some scotch just to scratchy throat too.
So
That's
Alex
good.
Antiquity and Troy Alleman was there, some Greyhawkers, and he got RSV from there. And
Yeah.
then I got it like a week after that. So just hopeful not to get.
Yeah.
Hopeful
One
not.
thing, just looking at the covers, it's interesting. You kept that yellow-orange spine
Yeah, we're gonna
of
go
the
Here
second
we go, everyone.
layout from not the first printing, but the second updated printing. They got the new design of the old school books of first edition AD&D. They had the orange, yellowish spine of the books. Yeah.
Well, like your listeners, your viewers, treatment. The game has given me so much. It was an early into academics, and so the game has given me more than I'll ever be able to give back. So if you're like, it was very clear. Like I politely bugged Jeff Easley for like a year and a half. Will you please, will you do it now? Will you, not putting that in
Oh, wow.
He, would ask if he would do it, and it worked out, and I think he did a great job.
Oh yeah, you get that adventuring party storming into the dungeon. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. Absolutely.
Yep.
You could tell, right off the bat. I mean, when you think of Easley, you think of Greyhawk Adventures, right? Cover for Greyhawk Adventures, cover for
Say again?
I think he did. Yeah, I think he did both the original Greyhawk 83 box set and From the Ashes as well. I think that was easily both of them. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm talking Jim Ward Greyhawk Adventures book. He's right.
Yep, I think so. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think I have that with me here. I think that's
Yep.
Okay. It's downstairs. So, all right. Nice cover in the back. Harken back to a golden age of role-playing journey into a realm of myth and magic, where ancient legend, life, and adventure awaits. Inspired by the timeless role-playing tradition of the early '80s. Bingo. This rule set seamlessly integrates the simplicity of BX with the chrome of first edition. Call 0.75, I noticed. The book includes everything you need, classes, spells, monsters, and treasure, combined in a single volume. Welcome to Dragon Slayer. Now, I asked you this question at Page, if you recall, and I think I know you answered it in your background discussion. Why Moldvay over Holmes or Menser Basic?
Well, I was just that's Moldvay was what I had, and it. I just think, looking back and thinking with benefit of hindsight, Moldvay was the distilled. Moldvay has a logic to it, like corn D&D game, and it's not overthought where it needs to be, where it doesn't need to be. It's not underthought, either. It's right in that sweet spot, and it also happens to be the easiest to teach and the most lethal. And I like it. I like it for those reasons. And I do enjoy a lethal game of Dungeons and Dragons. And people familiar with my work will know that already. I think the game is more interesting if there are consequences for stupidity. And I also think it's funny at the table, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's a game, and we should be having fun, and we should be laughing. And then, the best part of D&D, D&D is the lore. It's like when you can say to your buddy, 10 years after, do you remember that time you put your head into the mouth of the manticore and on the bed? But it's that lore of the game that we tell and we laugh about. I mean, you don't really do that with like Scrabble. You don't do that with like Monopoly. It's really not like that, but we do with D&D, and that's a really important part of the culture, and telling those stories and retelling them and having laughs with friends.
That's a funny point. Yesterday morning in my game, Saturday morning, I streamed. There's a dual class human fighter, further level fighter. Then he's a monk now. He's a terrible monk, but he's awful good. And they're getting. I snuck a roper up on him. They had an Adiog trash pit. One of the stalagmites was a roper, and it's kicking their butts. He runs around as a monk and puts his head in the roper's mouth so it doesn't attack someone else. So when you said the manicore's mouth, I'm like, oh my gosh! I just had that happen at the. You'll remember those stories. We still talk about. And my forward to my Free City of Altamira box set, I talk about the weekend in 1987 that it came about because we just remembered all the stories from that weekend, you know? And like, it used to be when we were all like that and we're younger, the late, they're nerds. We don't want anything to do with them. It's not that way anymore. It really isn't.
There's still memories that even in my game now that we play, I think there are things that I will carry with me, and we have memorable moments. The game is now, I play it very, very different from when I was 15, completely different. Now it's a game about political intrigue and deep, dark stuff that I never even understood the idea of when I was 15. But memorable game that creates these kind of moments and friendships and stuff. So it's awesome. It's a game. And in that sense, I don't want to call it a game. It's much more deeper than that. It is a game, but it's way more than a game as well. So you can grow with your entire life, which I think is so cool. You don't grow out of it, and you can evolve it in so many different ways and emphasize different things. And that was one of my questions. Now, when you want to do it, meaning what do you want to emphasize more on? One that you mentioned is the outdoor play, meaning the wilderness play. That was not in the game originally. That was something that came later, so to speak, when Wilderness Guide and stuff. In the beginning, they were barely mentioned. There was like an outdoor range for spells and ranged combat, but that was about it. There was hardly no rules for wilderness travel or really at all. That came much later. But what other parts that you wanted to emphasize and add to the game, so to speak, that you felt were underdeveloped, that you felt, oh, that's where I want to make my mark, so to speak?
Well, so, in my opinion, there are games that are classics. Dungeons and Dragons, as it was expressed in the 90s, a classic game. It doesn't, with respect, I have no pretensions to be Gary Gygax. I am a torchbearer for Gary Gygax's game. That's all I am. And if along the way I can maybe put in some of the tweaks through organic play at my table that have always made sense to us, that either simplify, give it a little bit of oomph where we felt it needed it, then great. And if I can express that in a way that is accessible and playable and fun, all the better. But at the end of the day, if I get to be a lowly torchbearer in Gary Gygax's party, that's all I could ever ask for.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yep.
So I'm on the table of contents, but let me skip back here to two things. This Gary Gygax quote, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Role playing isn't storytelling. It's if the dungeon master is directing it, it's not a game. So you wanted to say something about your thoughts on where your game style is.
Yeah, so this is very purposeful. It has to start with Gygax. It's not so. And then the second item is to let people know. So for me, story doesn't precede play. Rather, story emerges from play at the table.
I agree, man. Great point.
So I might have a meta working way up here. Hey, there's some evil background, but how we get from here to there is not going to be linear. The players are going to decide the steps through which we get from here to there. And so having said that, and you need, in order for I'm sure, again, a lot of your viewers know this already, but if you're going to have a long-standing campaign, players have to take ownership of the campaign. They have to feel like it's that they have agency. And so I think the quote is perfectly situated at the front to let people know how the game is played, and that and let's make it an organic, fun collaborative experience at the table, not a top-down one coming from the person that's running the game.
Excellent.
Yep.
Hey, Rob. All righty. So what a great Jeff Easley on the cover. We said you got Darlene Diesel, Eric Yatz, and Ian Levy in here, and then a lot of other people have participated in this. Cartography, Bradley and Todd Antill and Tom Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got some play testers. I'm assuming a lot of them are your friends, and you
Yep.
ran through it, and you're just like, man, let's just see where it goes. How many times did you tweak things?
Well, a lot. So one of the things that, so if we just, let's talk about combat for a minute. So one of the things that I always felt the fighter could be a little bit different. Now, so I've got a little tweak in there for the fighter that makes combat much a little bit faster and a bit more interesting for the fighter in particular. So so that's a big kind of tweak, and we play different iterations for a while. So at the end of the day, that was sort of a big one. And what that tweak does is that in the cleat, you can see it there. If you kill a target, so if you slay a target, you get an immediate second attack, and it's a second attack at a third attack at whatever the text says there. So I'm not.
Yeah, 2 or 3, level 3.
So and that takes the place of multiple attacks that happen later on. So at the point in which
nice.
But paladins and rangers don't get it until they would get their multiple attacks, their 3/2.
Right.
So they get it at the same point, but they get it later on. And what that does is, because the fighter can slay a target and then get a second attack, it encourages players to soften targets before they wade into melee combat. And if you do that, now you're the fighter. Now, so if you're playing a fighter of equal hit dice to a monster, that's one thing. If you're playing a fighter that has fewer hit dice, a monster that has fewer hit dice than the fighter will make a little bit quicker work of it. And that's number one, how it should be. And number two, it will speed combat. And number three, if you're fighting a whole bunch of lowly targets, you'd rather that combat go a little bit quicker. Yeah. And that works really, really well. They take play to their class.
Yeah.
And so that was a big, it seems like a tiny little thing, but when I encourage people to just do some random combats with monsters of equal hit dice and then fewer hit dice, and you'll find how that works really well.
So, like, I come from the same school, and we don't need to talk about my accomplishments with this, but when my 1E, 2E, I stole a lot of World of Warcraft stuff. I gave the fighters, I immersed feats into do some things, different styles and stuff. Taunt, battle shouts, right? Stuff like that. Because everyone's like going away from the straight fighter. Like, oh, the fighter's just, he swings a weapon, he swings a sword normally. I'm like, no, man, you could have two-handed wielding fighters, sword and board fighters, missile specialists. You got to think outside the box on this. And plus, you want to get a combat to move quickly and efficiently, because you do not want to have a combat hour. You just, because that's so fun for anyone. So that's a great idea, man. So you're staying away from the multiple attacks. You're going more with the cleave ability off of the kill for the multiple attack.
Off the kill.
Okay,
right.
Got
it.
Yeah,
and it works. And so then what happens is, the way this works is that this game has a lower power curve, slightly lower than what one would expect. So you're always at a combat disadvantage vis-a-vis monsters.
Okay.
So what is that? So what do you want to do? Well, you want to read Sun Tzu's The Art of War from 2,500 years ago. You want to make sure that you fight on ground of your choosing, that you engage in deception, that you range attacks before you close. You want to set traps, like lie, connive, cheat, do whatever you need to do to win that combat. And what it does is it forces players to rely on their guile and their intellect and their ingenuity, not necessarily what's on their character. And that's the game I like to play. What are you when we match wit? So I'm again, playing with say 6 players, and they have to come up with their plan, and then it's me against them, and smart players will do the things that probably savvy veteran AD&D players have been doing for 30 years.
And you'll see that in not bashing anyone. You'll see the tactical advantage of an old school player. Know that texted my son because I need more. Thanks, seltzer, because I need some more drink. Yeah, he's turning 14 soon. He got into a special high school in a couple of days ago, so he's 8th grade, doing really well.
Good for him.
Yeah, and he plays his favorite character is a 7th level fighter.
Very nice.
But you'll see the tactics, like in my game with Terrain and Minis, you'll see the tactical 40 years because they know I'm going to wait to charge till that area effect spell goes off because I don't want to get hit with it. But then I want to get that fighter in and take out the missile attacks, take out those spellcasters, and that's where I can see that cleave effect coming in your game. That fighter's got to get in there and get that kill. So very cool. The tactics of the entirety of the game. So a question off that: are you most comfortable with this system, or is it equal? Theater of the Mind with graph paper or VTT on a table with miniatures and some terrain, sitting around with friends, or is it?
It stands up across all forums. Okay. So I'm an unabashed Citadel miniature 70s, early 80s, particularly that run where they did the AD&D figures from 83 to 85.
Yeah.
So that I love collecting them and painting them. So if I'm too busy then we just do Theater of the Mind.
Right.
Having said that, one of the things I always hated about TSR D&D were the movement. I think that having the 5-foot movement squares to allow you to choose to go. So when you go through Dragon Slayer, you're going to see that the movement comes out in 5-foot squares, and so spells are good. And just to speak back to your earlier point, the veteran D&D player will in the combat their spells with their melee attacks, and they'll think of ranges and they'll think of those sorts of things to make best combined arms attacks.
That's your thinking in that process, because I always said, and Adam knows this from playing my game, combat's not static. So I allow, but movement in old school was part of your action. It wasn't in 5th edition move, attack, move. That the movement beyond 10 feet is considered full action. Right, but movement for me, I'll give you that little bit of movement. Get a little closer or swing around in your combat, not just standing there duking it out. There's even though there's miniatures there. So I'm glad you're thinking about that with these 5-foot area.
Yeah, I love miniatures, and I love painting the terrain and all that stuff. And I know some people do and some people don't. And the game stands up equally well either way you like. A core item, doesn't that have to be the way it is moving forward? I couldn't envision doing anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And you found a happy medium based on your experiences for all your years, and that's just wonderful. So the character sheet's very basic, which is great. You have all your stuff on here, your name, race, everything you need is right here. Thank you, Shattered Saint, appreciate that. Armor class. Do you use armor class rear, or is it all straight across one armor class, or do you have no dex armor class rear if you're surprised?
So you're asking what exactly? Sorry.
Say for example, you're in plate mail and you have your dex bonus, but you get a surprise from behind. Different stance armor classes. Base armor class front, no shield, no dex. Rear.
So I if I was playing a game and you're being attacked from behind, no, you're not going to get your shield. You're not going to get your dex.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
But one of the things with Dragon Slayer, and I note this when dealing with encumbrance and equipment, is that you just need to think commonsensically and reasonably. So if you have 4 Warhammer, that's not reasonable, right? So you have to ask for the person running the game can ask for a character sheet and burn any of the players because they will try to. They're humans. They will try to get away with stuff that they probably shouldn't. And you have to burn them every once in a while.
We all have them. It's called the Tim rule, right, Anna? We can, my game, to squeeze out like advantages. Yeah.
Well, we played too long, then we met a game like crazy. So we tried to get. We try to abuse the rule system to get our
well, that's what players they're supposed to do, and the person running the game is supposed to burn them back. Countermeasure and measure and countermeasure.
But one thing I see that is cool. One thing that is really cool. You kept the level titles. So the various characters they have the titles. But that's really cool homage to AD&D First Edition.
Yeah, they're my titles, and and again, like, so if you're thinking in AD&D terms, right? If you're hitting 3rd level, it's a milestone. If you're hitting level 5, it's a milestone, and you'll see those reflected in the level titles. So level 3. It was very specifically chosen. Level 5 was.
It's like a fighter. You sell sword at 3rd level, and you're warrior at 5th.
That's right.
But you'll only go to 10th level in the player's handbook. Is that by design? You don't.
No, well, I do for spellcasters, but if you're a fighter or whatever, then it indicates how to address.
It's like that in player's handbook.
Beyond level.
Hit points or something like that.
And although you don't notice it here because we're dealing with single pages, but I very carefully thought out the 2-page spread here. So when the book is sitting flat, you're going to have the 2 pages for the cleric looking right at you. When variant, so it was very carefully
so you get the turning table and you get the base stats and that on the right. That's great. Yep.
Right. And you have to think not only in terms of the veteran player, but you have to think the new player. So what you'll see as you flip by these character pages is that I have sample equipment.
You have equipment packs. That's
with the
great.
gold, so that you can speed play for new players. If they're like, well, what do I do, and how do I make change from silver pieces and all that stuff?
Yeah, you get them in 10. Yeah.
Now the monk is a fairly big change.
Spells.
So no, if you go back there just for a second, so never really fit in AD&D in my opinion. It was sort of the Shaolin monk, and everything in there is coming kind of from a Western European point of view. So what I did was I went for more of a monastic monk, quarterstaff specialist kind of, and it's very fun and it plays very well at the table. So that's one of the big changes, and then the other one is the addition of the Cyclopsman as a race. And
nice!
Everyone wants to play those, and I play it at
let me go back.
Cons.
Yeah, I think Skagith
cool.
might like your monks. Yeah, we have and a fellow Swede that is one of our fans here, and he is like no monks. He doesn't like monks, so I think your monk will pass scrutiny and will be accepted here.
Just like in Player's Handbook, the same type of picture to each other.
Yeah.
Didn't go the half ogre route, huh? The whole half ogre?
No, I'm not really interested. Unless you had a runt ogre and a very tall human, which is possible, but is exceedingly unlikely. But the Cyclopsman is intended to be as rare as a race as So I think in my 40 plus years of playing the game, I rolled a paladin once. They're just so rare, depending on what character generation dice you're using. So
are you tough that way? It's straight 3d6 for abilities, and you need to roll that high to just be able to play a paladin. Is that
wow?
Well, if you're looking at the ability score higher earlier than AD&D. So the trade-off is I as the base mechanic, I suggest 3d6 7 times. Drop the lowest, then arrange them to taste.
Okay,
and
good.
That'll give you a little bit of wiggle room. But are you going to be playing a paladin regularly? No, you're not.
Yeah.
Wu-Tang says never liked Eastern monk flavor. Once again, you can tweak. There's nothing preventing you from tweaking the whole. The Dragon 53 monk was decent. A little bit added in. I've added a little bit more hit points and a couple more abilities to my monks. You can do that. I mean, there's things you can make changes, but this is a completely. When I saw the spell list for the monk, I was like, wow, because spells don't monks don't they have special abilities, but they didn't have a spell progression table. So this is kind of
Yeah,
cool.
well, because the my monk is not a
Friar.
subclass of the cleric.
Yep.
So they're getting spells, they're just getting them a little later.
Yes.
And
yeah.
yeah.
Wisdom bonus and extra spells like in clerics, like in old school, or straight.
Yeah, so it's the Gygax rule. So if you have 15, then you get a +1 first level spell and a +1 second
Okay.
level spell.
Good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Good. Really good idea. How long did we spend back in the old day just writing down equipment on lists? Half the night, sometimes, right? And then
I
the
know. And
character would
then
die.
right. So those of you who remember the Lost City, there's a full page fast pack right in the Lost City, and I was like, wow, like that's such a game changer, and that was like way back in the day. And I forget the exact year of publication for the Lost City. I'm sure a viewer would know, but that was the inspiration.
It's probably 82. That's a guess.
Yeah, it was
So,
early.
one quick announcement: Josh Pop Zarathon has added at the end after the giveaway. I probably will restart it because it just makes sense for those who want them. 5 virtual GaryCon gift badges, which means gives you access to the entire virtual part of the con. Okay, so if you want to be part of it and you can't go in person, we're going to give away 5 of them tonight after Greg's 2 giveaways for the hardback and the PDF, which we'll do separately. Then I'll restart it. Okay, I'll close out and restart it. All right, just so you're aware. So we got our base classes here. We got monk, we got druid, we got fighter, barbarian. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Were you when Ars Arcana came out, and we had barbarian and cavalier, which they messed up from Dragon 72. I still use the 72 version. What were your thoughts on like? Did you really like what the direction they were going with it, or you're like, you know what, I can make it better? What do you think?
Well, I thought, well, like that's pretty interesting, but then it became very obvious right away that they just didn't mechanically work at the table. So, but having said that, I thought that there was always room for the paladin to be more knight-like. And so I kind of like that idea of the cavalier, and you'll see just a little flavor, just a little bit of flavor, both my paladin and my barbarian from the cavalier.
Cool. Nice.
But not the cavalier, right?
Right. I see that are in like Knight Banneret, which is in the original 80 glossography, which we had no idea what it meant. We thought it was cool. They had Knight Bachelor, Knight Banneret, Knight Commander. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. And so that's the logical progression for a knight at that time.
Honorarium to Dragonlance right here, Knight of the Rose.
Maybe actually. So look right now. There's another little Dragonlance homage there too.
It's got to be something he's wearing.
So do you remember there was one Dragonlance module that was devoted to just filling out the player characters that were like the protagonists?
Right.
I think it was DL5, was it? And anyway, that little Celtic knot at the top was a little bit of inspiration. So just a little tip of the cap, these little tiny flourishes, just to, for the people, if you know, and if you're well read, and if you don't, it'll just look cool.
Awesome.
Of the main settings, Greyhawk, Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance, I guess Ravenloft back then, which was your go-to? Was it Dragonlance?
No, it was not. So I think like it was all Greyhawk until the gray box for Forgotten Realms came out.
85, yeah.
And then it was like, whoa. And I do recall the Forgotten Realms font. You remember that sort of like etched in stone kind of runic thing, little Celtic arts aesthetic flourishes. That appealed to me right away. I said that, like I cut all my teeth in the Greyhawk stuff with all the modules based in Greyhawk, and that's a legacy that has continued through all my work.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. Assassin made it into among the classes.
Yes.
So because that was kind of a slightly controversial class and so on. So how have you handled it? Meaning that because you use like a percentage and then they could kill someone. How did you go approach mechanically? Yeah.
I'm not really an assassin fan, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. So it came down to assassin or bard, and I picked a little kind of pun intended. I went with the assassin because I dislike bards that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a fairly traditional treatment of the assassin. So
Yeah.
but having said that, no one really enjoys playing assassins in my home game.
Right.
Mhm.
But it's interesting. The first take of Bard was more like what prestige class is. That you first have to do. First, you had to do you have to basically be a fighter, a thief, and then start druidic studies, and then you become. Yeah. No, I like that. And for me, that was the first prestige class. I loved it. It was such a cool concept that you have to evolve over time, so to speak. It was almost impossible. We never succeeded in actually having a bard.
They're so overpowered when they get, especially weapon specialization as a fighter, is so overpowered.
Yeah,
so,
but it was cool. Then third edition came around and had prestige classes that worked the same way. But that was when it really functioned, I think, in third edition. But
the thing is, if you enjoy a more lethal game, as I do, you want players to get into their class as soon as you can. You have to wait to advance or wait to do levels in something else, and then wait yet again. You're probably dead.
But my characters, they're never optimized. I'm the worst possible. I want characters with flavor rather than effectiveness. So I never get anywhere, so to speak. So in that way, I never lasted in old school. I probably had 60 characters and made it to second level, barely made it to second level. So I think the first time I had a character made it to third level, I was like, wow, we almost had cake and was like celebrated it with. Yes, it was amazing. We had one player. He had a character made it to fifth level, and we were so jealous, and we had played for like 2 years or something. Yeah, it was terrible. So it was. But then
if you make it to fifth level, you win.
Yeah, it was like woohoo.
So my games now are much greedy, but not particularly deadly, so to speak.
And you've gone on to Pathfinder 2e too, which is a little bit like a.
Well, I did that for a while. Now I'm in the 5e. I have a very house ruled 5e version, so to speak, that I do, but based on 5e mechanics. But I played every edition, and I loved every edition when they came out, and then kind of evolved over time. So I have one foot in old school and another one in new school. So I
understand, and lots of people do, and that's great. For me, like, the thing is, and one needs to think, like, if I was like 11 or 12 when third edition came out, it probably would have been exactly for me, because it was very dense and very rules heavy, and exception based.
Crunchy.
But I prefer rules based over exception based gaming, because we often play in the evening, probably after a long day of work. And if I have to go flipping through at the bottom of page 144, paragraph 6, for this little obscure little piece, I'm probably not a very happy camper at that stage.
Yeah, that's the same thing. Nowadays, I want very simple mechanics, but I want a lot of flavor and depth to them, but very simple mechanics. I don't want to have to look up rules and simple math and stuff like that. I want simplistic rules in that sense, but I want a lot of flavor to it. I want maybe more damage types. Maybe I want the magic to be more magical, so to speak, without being making the math complex. And so that's So I've definitely evolved.
And I just have 20 of these different color coded books that have all.
See, there you go.
So,
Well, you sleep better than I do.
It's been a great journey. I love the multi-class. So base classes only, 4 base classes. No ranger thieves, no ranger mages like I have. No Clark Clark assassins.
That was going to be my
base classes.
My kind of take. How do you take multi-class? Do you stick very close to what AD&D and early editions of AD&D had, or have you tweaked it, so to speak?
Just only the main classes can multiply.
And only 2, not 3.
But you can immediately take another level in another class and then reap the benefit from that. You don't have to wait until you like dual class.
Experience gets divided up equally, and normally if you're a 5th level fighter and then you're a fighter thief, you're normally it could be 4-4. Or it could even be 4-5, depending on the experience table of the thief. So it's really close running. It's usually a level behind. As
Thieves are usually ahead.
The single's usually ahead by about a level or 2. If you do like cleric mage, you're going to be about, when you get to 9th, you may be 7/7. You know, roughly that's what the math works. So cool.
And if you're 7/7, everybody else is much higher than you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, you're more of a you're a jack of all trades. You're the backup healer normally there, or the main healer, and then you're throwing some spells in behind the main spellcaster at that point. It looks like alignments are all same as base, which is good. Yeah, very very cool.
Yeah, very straightforward, just communicated in my language. And what I often do with people that are playing for the first time, I just trying to think. I use the example. So you're walking down a city street and you look down an alley and you see two people beating up a third. If you're lawful, you run right down there and help out. If you're neutral, maybe you just walk right by and you don't even think about it. And if you're evil, you join in with the two and beat up the person in the alley. So that's just kind of like a little bit of a starter for new people to wrap their minds around it.
Silver is 50 here. Okay. The gold. All right, it's 50. Because it was either 10 or 20. I always got confused back in the day, and you made it 50.
Well, Gary Gygax had for Greyhawk, he had a very difficult kind of. It was like the British old with the shillings and all that stuff. So it was Electrum, and I used that for a while, and I took it from the Gord book where he explained all the different from copper and here bronze bits and iron scraps, and they had names and stuff, and one was worth 5 and the other one was 10, one was 50.
It hurt my head reading those books.
Yeah, that was we had an Excel spreadsheet conversion stuff. So
yeah, if you need that, I mean that's a little too far. So for me, like the basic system, everything it can be communicated in really a few minutes. The depth comes from the spell depth and from the monster depth. So that complexity will increase as you go, as it should. And as people get access to new spells, then you as the person running the game, you'll have to be familiar with those. They'll have to be responsible for knowing what they do. And the game will develop in complexity as you move farther along, which is the way it should be.
Yeah.
So some quick things in chat. Dale is sure the bear. Greg, I play CNC in Greyhawk running Dwara Deep. Okay. And I asked him where, and he said Southern Rakers between the Beaumarch and the Flinty Hills.
Oh, cool.
So there you go.
That's a good area.
Curtis plays it. Rich DeYolia, who's a Canadian, plays it. And Gary Julian plays in that game, if you know Gary, who did the Living Grout Gazetteer journal, back when 3rd edition came out. So, and he's part of the community. So there you go. Very cool. He's playing that now.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You're having fun.
Yeah, definitely.
And another key bit in the game is initiative. How do you? What was it? Is the game has a preferred method? Is it or how do you approach initiative?
So it's a group initiative, and then from there you have a tactical columns, 2 tactical columns marching order. So everyone's ordered who's in 1st rank, 2nd rank, 3rd rank, and so on. So then if you're saying you're in a 10-foot passage, so you roll initiative, and then the first 2 players can attack. The second 2 players can attack depending on their size or their weapon type. And if, let's say, you're going down a T intersection and the party gets attacked in the middle ranks, so those middle ranks could potentially be the 1st rank if you're T-boned, right? Party, and explain that in the combat mechanic. At the end.
I'm going to it in page 254 here. So a question as I'm scrolling here. I see you do not have damage versus large, and that limits. That's another limit to, like, your 2-handed swords aren't doing 3d6 here; they're doing 2d6, right?
No.
So,
so the same against all monsters, so to speak, or all opponents. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Here's combat.
Keep combat simple. That's the
Declaration of spells before initiative roll. Interesting.
Okay.
So you want to, you protect your spellcasters, and if you want to declare your spells, you do so. That way, if you're hit, that the spell is lost.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, that's tough on spellcasters. That is bad.
Well, it's a party's responsibility to protect their spellcasters, and if you're not doing that, you're not playing the game the way it was intended. In my humble.
That's a good point. That you should kind of cooperate properly and use and defend each other and use each other's weakness or strength and protect against the weaknesses. Yeah, that's good.
That's right.
Okay, cool.
So Extort
yeah.
just asked the setting again. Can you just say the name of the board again? The original board setting.
Outdoor survival.
Yeah, outdoor survival board.
Mhm.
There you go.
Yeah.
Outdoor survival. It is.
Yeah. So the map in the accompanying gazetteer will probably happen in 2025.
Nice.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
So,
On page 69, you have that awesome picture of that is actually, I think, a street in Rhodes on the island of Rhodes in Greek island.
The Chaotic.
Yeah, Rhodos in the Mediterranean, and it's so cool that you made a new version of that iconic picture. It's great.
Well, the thing is, what you want to do is you want to take the story of Emerkil the Chaotic. Maybe that's a very interesting tavern in that city. And who's to say there weren't other things happening interesting here? I wanted just a little hint of Game of Thrones in a D&D. Somebody is using a child as sort of like a spy, and the boy's like, yeah, he went in there. And so, and then we have the kind of the assassin type standing in the shade, like in the darkness, and the boys in the light, just as little play of light and shade there.
Yeah, it's so cool. I'm still so bummed that I walked that street before I knew that was the street.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and afterwards I saw when the internet came around and be popular that someone pointed out he was there. I was like, damn, if I knew that when I was there. Yeah, that was scary. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's well, if you're Northern European, you go to Mediterranean on the summer vacation almost every year. So you pick the different islands and stuff. And Crete was my very favorite, but a lot of the Greek islands, so they were fantastic. So I went around to a whole bunch of them over the years. Yeah.
Yeah. So my work is very much influenced by Celtic aesthetics and by Neolithic Europe. And Britain, and the role of standing stones in those Neolithic communities. And I went to Ireland for 2 weeks last June, and took like 1,200 pictures, did some very remote hikes to see some. Yeah, and I'm a big person. Like I'm 6'5", so I was like, am I going in there? You're damn right, I'm going in there. And I wedged myself into some pretty narrow passages. Yeah,
but I think that's a big inspiration to D&D in the first place, or to Tolkien and fantasy in general, and all of the if you read Appendix N, I'm pretty sure that all the authors behind those books are being inspired by the megalithic age of European age, so to speak, when you have all these big monuments and stuff. And I grew up in Sweden. We have plenty of them. We had one of the biggest in Europe of these megalithic structures. That was an old grave that was only a few miles away from where I grew up. And to me, it was kind of weird because they dragged us around when we were like 5-6 years old in primary school, and I thought it was so boring. We had to stand out there in the cold and the museum, and it was miserable, and talked about the Viking Age. So I thought it was the most boring ever. Now I'm like, now I've gone to these places as an adult and been like revering them. It's like, oh, this is so much cool. This is awesome. So, but my first experience with it was like so boring, and it was like, oh, I wanted to see all the modern stuff. I didn't want to see all this old crap. So that was so funny that as an adult, the same thing with the music and stuff, all of that was like, when I grew up, it was like, no, I didn't want any of it. Then as an adult, I was like, I love this. So it came back to me. Yeah.
I'm captivated by Neolithic archaeology. 100%.
Yeah.
I want to show this because Greg, you got a good set here. You do. I'm going to give you. I'm going to throw out my even though they're blue, my blue ball emote a couple times, man. You just instead of you just throw Greg's asset on, and I love it, man. That is Grelf's.
Oh, wow, that is.
Yeah, Greg Vard's green tentacles. Hey, just go for it, right?
Yep.
So, what are the limitations? Like, is there some things, some spells like I can't do from Player's Handbook? I can't do for this, and I want to bring it in, or a couple monsters like bullywugs or whatever you change the name for certain things that you're like, the name's gonna is a problem.
Well, so there are things that you can't do, but having said that, I've always. One of the things, the texture of AD&D that was just perfect, right? Because who the heck is Mordenkainen?
Yeah.
Who are these wizards? Like, and you're thinking back from the time when you were like 10, 11, 12, 13. It's like
Yeah.
we didn't know who
Tensor's
they were.
floating disc was like, who's Tensor? It was like,
Well, exactly. So in all of my published spells, and there's a little tip of the cap to Errol.
Ool's got to be Alaluk. I just look at it and it's like, I know it's Alaluk, right?
Errol Otis.
I know that because I have a Grail Mage in my game. It's a custom class, and you can specialize in one of the Circle of Eight members.
You have to spell it out. You have Ed Greenwood.
Well, Ed is playing an Alaluk.
Yeah, so
Ravalantar.
So, cool.
So I'm like, that's Alaluk's boiling oil bath or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So that's really funny. Alaluk's Freezing Sphere. Yeah, it's cool, man.
And you told Luke Gygax that he couldn't cast Melf's Acid Arrow because
it was out of range. It was during a game.
That was so awesome.
It's out of range.
He just spilled it, spat it out. So,
I
you
let
can't
him
cast it.
No, he couldn't. I was thinking, cast on this thing right here. You can't cast it 300 feet away. You're out of range.
The way he said it was fantastic. That was hilarious.
Yeah, but this is great. So a lot of name changing, I'm assuming, just to fit to make it work, which is okay.
Some of it, but others, like my players, I've always encouraged my players to create their own spells.
And you put them in here.
And you'll see a number of them here. But what I always told them was there has to be precedent. So if there's you have to keep it within the confines of what's appropriate for that level. So if you're going to come talk to me about creating a new spell, I want to know what the precedent is for that spell by range, by duration, by damage, or whatever it may be. And so,
okay.
So that's a little fun thing. So do you remember the TV show from the 90s called MXC, Most Extreme Elimination Challenge?
Yeah.
It was a Japanese game show that was redubbed for comedic purposes in English, and the Captain Tennille, which is based on a band, he was one of the characters in the show, so that's where Tennille comes from.
Very cool.
Cool. Yeah.
He sings Muskrat Love, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny.
So there's people appreciate I think gamers in particular appreciate depth. And they appreciate a little, and it's self-reflexive in that the game is acknowledging itself as a game.
Yes.
Yep.
And these were aspects of that are foundational to Dungeons and Dragons. So Dungeons and Dragons was always parasitic on popular culture. It used references from children's bedtime stories. It used nursery stories. It used comic book stuff. Whatever they could get their hands on, they pilfered. Advancing magic, all of it. So that's one of the things you have to know what D&D is foundationally, and then use those precepts as you're creating the flavor for your game. And I think that way you keep the game grounded in its history, and you respect its history and its lore.
You have to have a little bit of a sense of humor to bust on yourself and bust on little things that you remember. Wow, 5% of the people are going to get it, right? But you have to put it in there because with that, and then
continue. So I'm sorry.
No. I was going to say it's the Andy Kaufman factor. He knew that not everyone's going to get his jokes, right? But he knew that little bit's going to go, oh my gosh, that's genius. So I'm sorry about that. Continue, please. Yeah, on that.
We're all familiar with The Simpsons, right? So if you're like 12 years old and you're watching The Simpsons, you're going to get like the surface level potty humor gags, and then if you're like, say, maybe an early university student, you're going to get, of course, all the potty humor gags, and you're going to get maybe some of the surface political gags or whatever they may be. And then if you're 25, 28, you've got some years under your belt, you understand how the world works, now you're going to be getting all the gags. So it's happening at different levels. And depending on how worldly you are and how informed you are, you're going to get more of those cultural references. And how well versed you are in this case in fantasy fiction and fantasy film and the lore of the game. All those things are just so full of texture and make the game more interesting and give it depth.
I'm going to share one from the Altamira preview box, and I want to see how many of the audience get it. All right, watch this. You're gonna love this. This is the description on the Bounty Hunters Guild in the preview thing for Troller Games. Very end, the main guild house is underground beneath a warehouse in the Merchant Way near East Side. The sign bears the legend Ace Tomato Company. Come on, guys, let's see who gets it. The Ace Tomato Company. Now I'm going to show how. Yeah, no one knows it. Oh, come on, Curtis. I thought you'd get that one real easy. Oh man, God, I guess not. Now I'm embarrassed. I thought someone in the audience would get it. Spies Like Us. They fall out.
That's a great
That's
movie.
a deep cut.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks. Caesar got it. Spies. Yeah,
Yeah.
they fall out, and it's like they're. Yeah, that was the background in that. All right, so there you go. But I understand exactly where you're coming from with what you're doing. Is that you're throwing in some things here and there, and that is really fantastic. Loving this more and more, everyone. I hope you guys are all guys and gals are all enjoying this discussion with Dr. Greg Gillespie here as we talk about this wonderful new publication, which you can get right now on Drive-Thru RPG and PDF, and order the book too. All right, monsters, aerial servants. All sorts of axe speaks. You got a lot of the base ones in here. Was there anything that, like? I know they put out that stupid thing on which ones were licensed and not. Like Beholder, we have to go eye tyrant at all, or let me see.
No, you can anything that's not Beholder. So yeah, whatever works for you now. So if you're thinking now, when you look at the monster section, think of that in terms of BX terms. So you want all your core classic to make it playable, to do your thing, monsters, humanoids, and so on and so forth. And then I have another little monster manual, basically, that for my mega dungeons that has some of the you've seen in Barrow Maze or
Okay.
Yeah.
Quatol, Shimera. Some really great art here too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you ties into the original Monster Manual art. Is an homage to it in a lot of sense, but often an improvement. So it's really great.
Everyone's more refined, right? So we've seen all these things. Now, having said, so what you're trying to do is you're trying to take the aesthetic, the look of it, but present it from a new angle or in a new way.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, good. Wow. You used the no type ones. That's good. Named.
Yeah. I love the. We can dig into that later. So I wouldn't.
Yeah, there were some things that were kind of buggered with the hit dice of Demons and Devils, so I addressed that. That was always like a historical item that that I felt should have been cleared up and wasn't. So you can take it.
Omote says, here's a question: why are clerics limited in not memorizing the same spell twice?
Because that is boring. That's why, and it's also lazy playing, to be perfectly honest. So plus, people can get in the habit of not learning the rest of their spells by level if you're a cleric, and then you just keep picking the same ones. Okay, well, I'll take Cure Light Wounds 4 times, and that's not really that fun to play, nor is it expanding your repertoire of what you can cast. So
great question.
Now, having said that, there is a mechanic there for clerics and magic users, spellcasters, divine or arcane, that they can create their own spell scrolls. Okay. So they can do that, and there's a mechanic for that helps sort that out.
Excellent.
For magic users. So.
Yeah, because a lot of people will be like, well, we need our healing factory, so.
Yeah, that's boring.
It is.
And it doesn't add to the flavor of the game. It games the game, and that's what I don't like.
Okay.
I don't mind being gamed as a DM. Like, so if I'm presenting a situation and gaming my situation, that's fine. But gaming the classes and things like that, I don't think is all that fun.
And remember, there's nothing that relations to what Greg has here.
Absolutely.
As your own, master. We've all done it. Not one of us out there as a DM or GM or has ever taken, I don't think, a publication you percent. I just don't think that's the joy and wonder of D&D or any variant of Dungeons and Dragons.
That's right.
Every DM that I know is, Tim and I are hugely different, right? As two DMs, we're both old school. So it's a great question, though. Thank you for the question.
100%. I don't run anything exactly by the book because I want to custom do everything. I really want to, present that flavor.
Absolutely. Here, I'm going back to that demon picture of the succubus. Oh, there you go. Look at that. That's great too. The paladin and hell
and
picture.
That's the same paladin that's shown in the paladin art in the class section.
Oh wow, it is. Who's the artist on this?
That
okay. Nice.
Irish guy. He's terrific, as you can see.
Another reason, Josarius, why you know me, why second edition I love specialty priests, because you got a flavor now. As you saw yesterday, and I had the NPC. I had the NPC specialty priest of Solinar because one of the players, their Avenger, couldn't make it. So there, yeah, right there, the hand gesture, not large. Whatever that. Yes. Take it whatever. That's funny. Take it whatever you so choose. So.
And let's not be prudes. I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Gotta have a little grittiness to the game here. So.
So here's the thing. People, or we're in a stage where people think to themselves, RPG should be this, and that, whatever that is separate from really cool fantasy fiction or really cool fantasy film or TV shows. And they're not separate. They're the same thing. And if you're watching a TV show and you're impassioned by triumph, or you're impassioned by tragedy, or anything in between, that's fair game at the table. I mean, that makes it more engaging. That's the texture playing at the table. I am absolutely going to say, all right, well, the hill giants are coming to destroy this village. Well, at exactly the same time, the Dark Knight is riding to your castle to destroy it and slay your people. What are you going to do? And so it's those moral quandaries and those interesting things that make good drama. And so that's where I come from.
Well, you need some conflict and drama and stuff to drive the adventure. Otherwise, it gets boring and kind of silliness alone is not good enough. You need some drama and stuff as well, so to speak. And it's like every dramatic movie and fantasy movie needs some some dark moments and some mishaps and stuff in order to make the story interesting and engaging. Yeah.
Well, I love that. I love that picture.
Oh yeah, that's a
great art piece.
Yeah. Both of those pictures are great examples of how you make an homage and improve on the original art, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I try to do is when I get into certain sections, so I'll have the artist do. So for example, the artist did all the classes. So that section has a particular aesthetic look to it. The demons and devils has a particular aesthetic look to it. The dragons have a particular. The undead. So you'll see some commonalities, and I think that gives it a little bit more unified aesthetic.
That's great too.
But there's one in here that I just love the look of, and that's the goblin. The goblin, that looks so awesome. That guy is like, yes.
Let me go to it.
So
this guy right here.
Goblin. Oh yes, he is so he's awesome. I just love that look. Yeah.
That artist, I've worked with him like from the outset, and he's got like this. All his monstrous humanoids have this look like, humph, I'm a goblin.
Exactly. And it's a goblin who's given up. It's like, this.
He's been crushed by life. And
exactly. Life is tough. It's tough to be a goblin. Oh, I love it. He looks so awesome. Yeah.
All right, Greg. Well, we got a few minutes here. See, I told you that we'd burn through this, right? It's like 8:40 already. Yeah. Give me some things in here that I'm missing that are like unique. You've really brought into the game. I know there's a lot of stuff in the survival guide sections, or whatever. Give us a little taste.
I have appendices in this book. These are written in a more casual tone than the formal game, the meat and potatoes of the game. So the appendices are written with a little bit of humor and in a casual tone, so that if a young person picks up the book and says, well, okay, how is this game actually played? then people can they can glean some from the people that have been playing a version of this style of D&D for a long time. And I like, as I said, I like humor, and I think that there's two types of game rules. There are the formal, explicit game rules, but then there are the informal rules about how the game is actually. This gives you a pretty good example. So if you scroll down to the bottom of this page, and go up a little bit.
Okay.
So the bottom right-hand corner, if you zoom in, that kind of tells people. So my cleric needs 3,000 experience points to get to the next level. Seems glacial. Will it ever happen? Probably not. Your special snowflake cleric will probably die a terrifying death as a delicious snack in the maw of a ravenous monster long before then. Your job is to have fun and help the party survive. If you move to the next level, then, and let's face it, the odds aren't good. You win, and you should be feted by your friends and lauded by your family.
That is awesome.
So it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but it's also, I mean, you're having fun with your friends, and some characters are going to die, and it's okay. You move on.
Yep.
You got that Manfred von Richthofen quote on the other side. I just left. If we weren't going to win, I left. Yeah, another smart thing.
Yeah, that's it. So this is a little bit of fun, and I think that people will appreciate the tone here. And then I've got some quick hit stuff, a page or two after this. There's some Magic User 101. So you cast your spell. What do you do now? Yep. So that's kind of helpful for the new. Again, you're running for different audiences, right? You've got the new player who may never have seen a version or an edition like this, and yet you have the experienced player too, and they'll glean something from it as well.
Yeah, they need to know that a first level wizard is only good to guard the horses outside the dungeon. So
yeah, right.
And
then we've got hit things again, a little bit of fun. So cheap touchdowns. Don't give the maze controller cheap touchdowns. Never take needless chances in the last 20 minutes of a game session. Just get out alive.
Yep. Never split the party, but I always force splits in my game. I always figure out a way, have two of them go this way, two of them to go that way, and it always works. So yeah, all the time in the rear of the gear. And it's funny, Ed is so paranoid now. What's his character do, Anna? He turns around it's like, I turn around first. first.
When the players look behind them in the poke. So
you got to have the power there. Aim small, miss small. That sounds like the Patriot to me.
Yeah, and all adventures are cremated equal.
The survival rate for every PC drops to 0, except it now. That's so true. What is best in life? There you go, Conan.
Loot.
Yeah.
Loot is best in life, because remember in older versions of D&D, experience is 1 experience point to 1 gold piece.
Yeah,
that was no,
and it's about 1 to 10 for monsters. So you don't want to beat down the head to head. Rather sneak around, lie, connive, create traps, draw them into ground of your choosing, and then when you're at a combat advantage, you can deal with them and then steal their loot.
Yeah, this is definitely a great attempt. I mean, I've never seen anyone done this in 10-foot pokes. Yeah, the great 10-foot pole. I'm like, okay, yeah. Look at this. You even got an animal house. You even have an animal house quote in here.
Yeah.
Thank you, Father. I have another. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It changed. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I hope people appreciate that. Like, I have a sense of humor, and I identified as a gamer long before I ever identified as a university professor. So I carry myself. I'm a man of the people, and I try to I go at my games and with respect for the material, and yet also with a little bit of sense of humor, and I try to write for different audiences in different places.
Yep. And damn those dice. That's really cool.
So this is hysterical. Carousing rules. Take a dump in the village well. That's great. Act like Frank the Tank from come on. Old school.
Frank the Tank.
Old school. Yeah. Gain local reputation is streaking through the quad. More Frank the Tank right there. Yeah, you got it, man. Wow. Oh, geez. That's what I mean. I knew the second we were talking to Paige, like we knew all the same. I can't believe one person got spies like us, so I guess it wasn't that funny, but
Oh, Spice is a good
Yeah.
movie. It was an awesome
Every
movie.
30 seconds, I cut off a finger. Mine or yours? That's what Chevy Chase was hysterical. Yeah, I wonder what happened. All right, so streaking through the temple. Well, that'd be a problem. Despite your best efforts, you fall head over heels for your latest dalliance. Yeah, this is cool stuff, man. It's just some good things to get some little quirky role play going too. The Dragon Slayer
and
time.
time was never explained very well in any version of early D&D.
True.
So this just makes it. I'm a visual learner, as most men are. So this is if you wanted to play kindergarten, or you could just put dice on it, or you could put ticks with a pen, and you could just track when your random monster checks are done, when your torches burn out, when you need to rest.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
All right, so a couple quickie technical questions. Do you mean 8-hour rest to get back everything, get back spells?
No, the only way, well, in order to get spells back, you have to rest for 8 hours, yes. But if you want to heal up fully, you have to go back to town and then get new spells, whatever, whatever iteration of that would happen in the context of the game.
Okay, sounds good. How easy is it to recharge magic items?
It depends on the magic item. Some are not rechargeable.
How about a wand of magic missiles, for example?
Well, I can't recall right off the top of my head with that specific magic item if it's rechargeable, but it would be noted in the.
Okay, just curious in the setting, like, do you have to go to Magic Users Guild, or because there's a lot of that, that a lot of people rely on. Spellcasters rely on wands like crazy when they run out. Just some general.
Yeah, I don't. If it makes magic function like a technology, I'm not usually in favor of that. So.
Okay.
Cool. But there are with each magic item, whether it's rechargeable or not.
Random sarcophagus contents, Anna. You like that? That's great.
And also you have from the DMG, you have the random dungeon, and you can roll to get to rooms and stuff. That's really cool. So you have a lot of the best of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it has a page there where you can dice it, and then you can draw and write your results right there. So it makes it a little
random scroll and book titles. That's good too to have.
Yeah.
I'm always like thinking on the fly on stuff. What am I going to call it here? So official death certificates, beautiful, love them. I love them. Someone used to sell them before the day of the PDF. You had to buy stacks of them. That's nice. Very cool. Death certificates there. Coco, you better. I'm going to need one for you for this. Just kidding. I'm kidding. So, what other little tidbits besides, like, you got any, like, something you're like, man, I wasn't sure, but I had to go with it.
Well, there's a couple magic items that are tucked in there, and I've got a few turns of phrase that are kind of interesting. So, the Globus Cruciger of Antioch. Any of your viewers?
Holy hand grenade.
The holy hand grenade.
Yes.
It's the Globus Cruciger, so that it's in there.
Yes, good. Do you have Vorpal bunnies in here too?
I've got Vorpal weapons.
Okay.
But yeah, that's
all taken from great things that go on in the course of watching legendary movies, and just I fart in your general direction, great
all
stuff.
That stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So one of the magic user was one of Gygax's pet cats, right?
Yep.
So the illusionist was into the magic user. So I've tried to address that with the magic user spell list. So let's say in your party you don't have a magic user, but you do have an illusionist. Now the party can still function like it has a magic user, which I think is fairer. And then the same thing with the druid. The druid gets kind of hosed in favor of the cleric. So you'll see the magic, the spell list for the magic user is exhaustive. They're also it's expanded for the illusionist, and for the cleric, it's expanded for the druid. So if you want to get by playing a druid, if you don't have a cleric, you can do that in your party too.
Excellent.
And I mean, there's so many opportunities if you're thinking like standing stones and the place of the druid within Celtic society, druid to be cooler. And so I've tried to balance the equation a little bit there.
All right. So while we got a few minutes here, give us some questions from the audience if you so choose for Greg. Please do. If not, we will start wrapping things down here. But I had some good ones so far. how did brain for a question here? How I missed.
Yeah, it went very well. So, I was actually initially thinking I would probably run it in 2024, but then I started to think about it, and I'm like, it's going to be basically done. So I felt like this way I could get it out earlier. So I did the Kickstarter in September, but then it allowed it to come out earlier this year. Use it for longer in the context of the 25th or the 50th anniversary year. So that was really at the forefront of my mind, and it was ready. So yeah, it was definitely a labor of love.
Here's some quick questions here. Druids, can they turn into animals at a higher level still?
Animal shape, yeah.
Good. There you go. I just missed one.
And they get bonuses if they cast spells in the vicinity of standings. They get bonuses, and when they reach a certain level, they can create a druid grove or stone circle and attract followers.
Okay. I'm not asking that, History Prof. You know I'm not. Sorry, you busting my stones there. Can you get this anywhere else besides Drive-Thru RPG?
No, that's just where it is for the moment. And we considered. I did pursue looking at a sewn book run, but with the issue is because I'm located in Canada, it would be that's not going down anytime soon. So this made more sense. But
Right.
if it does well and it's been #1 at Drive-Thru since it came out, then I'd consider doing a sewn book run in the future, and you could buy directly from me if you wanted.
So I think I'm going to answer this one for Revaldic. I asked earlier how Greg could plans to make Dragon Slayer stand out in the oversaturated OSR market. Number one, I don't think it's that oversaturated. Number two, I think by the play style he set here, and a lot of people can really appreciate that. So, do you want to elaborate on that a little more?
Yeah, sure. So I would, to answer that question specifically, think of it in different terms. So if you're thinking strictly from a player's point of view, you're saying, well, why do we need another OSR version? And my answer to that would be, I've never personally been inspired by any OSR rulebook I've ever seen. I've played them, but I've not been inspired by them. And hopefully through what you saw tonight, you'll see there's a lot of attention to detail. There's high end. It's excellent. It's outstanding.
Yep.
And so what does that mean? And the cover by Jeff Easley. It means that this book is going to have shelf life. It's not going to get remade in a couple of years. This is all in one, and no splat books. I hate splat books. I really hated that era. Never doing that. So what you see is what you're going to get. And this book is going to have staying power because it's the rule book that inspired all the big adventures that I've done to this point. Now think of it not as a gamer, but so we're in this new era. The dust has not post-OGL nonsense. The dust has not settled. But the dust will settle here probably in the next year. And in that context, I have to make sure that I have sound footing under my feet as I look to publish stuff in the future. So that's also a really big consideration. And I know if you're just thinking it from a gamer standpoint, well, you're like, okay, well, who cares about that? But as a publisher standpoint, that's very important.
Absolutely. Canadian Ancient Gamer Patrick asked, was Greg in the reserves?
I wasn't, but I come from a military family, and it's one of the great disappointments that I didn't have an opportunity to serve because my dad was an MP in the British Army. My great grandfather fought in all 4 years in the trenches in World War I. So yeah, it's definitely something that I wish I had that experience, and I seem to get along very well with people who are ex-military because I just come from that kind of background and that family and that love of freedom and democracy.
Fantastic.
Good to hear. Yeah.
So, what cons you going to here?
So there are 2 very small conventions in Ontario that I'm going to go to in April. Then I'll go to North Texas RPG Con in early June. It's kind of the epicenter of the OSR. I very strongly encourage people to consider going. It's so much fun and it's really great. And if you love Greyhawk and you love TSR style D&D, it's the home for that. And then I hope to go to LongCon, which is a smaller convention also in Texas, and it was great fun. That was in early November. and that's 2024. But you know, I'm open to going to other cons if you know there's one that people want to make me aware of.
Okay, fantastic. I mean, I got a lot, I got bombarded. Fumbles are natural ones. Did you stay away from critical hits and
Yeah.
fumbles?
Yeah, that's right. So there's a critical hit is double your rolled dice plus your bonuses.
Okay.
So if you're using a longsword and it's D8, you get 2 D8.
Right.
You roll it twice, then you add your bonuses. And if it's a critical miss, then there's a fumble chart and you can
Okay.
roll a D8. And it's like your weapon slips out of your hand and lands behind your enemies, or you slip and fall prone,
There you go.
or you get dinged in the head and you have to adjust your helmet because you're blind for a round. Like pretty basic stuff, but stuff that adds a little texture to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Wow. Alrighty. I know there's a lot of other ones here. Fantastic. Great questions. Three. I think I got through most of the base ones here. Which cons in Ontario? Dingham John said for El Canadian, right? Which cons in Ontario?
So there's one called Phantasm that's located in Peterborough, Ontario in early April.
Okay.
And then the other one I think is Griffin Con, which is located at the University of Guelph. And that's at the end of April. So that's a maybe, but I'll definitely go to Phantasm in early April in Peterborough.
Does Ed go to that one, or is it too far for him?
Ed does go to that one, by
Okay.
my understanding. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Can shape change druids cast in their forms?
No.
There you go. Just like old school.
I love this question from Shadow Saint. Is there an obscene amount of pole arms that you can choose from?
There aren't. However, what I do acknowledge the Gygax's fondness for polearms with a new illusionist spell, Zagyig's Phantasmal Mancatcher. So I'm aware of that, and it's super fun. But yeah, what I do in my home game is all pole arms do the same amount of damage, but you can't. If someone you can use it. You can't use it in melee combat. It's intended. It's too unwieldy in melee to use a polearm. So there are opportunities to use polearms, but I'm a little bit more realistic with when you can use a polearm.
Okay. Perfect. All right, let me do this and do this. All right, so I think we got enough there. Look at that, 9 o'clock on the nose here. So what else would you like to shout out? What else is going on? Do you have another Mega Dungeon coming out soon, or?
So the next up, as I said, will be the Mapping Gazetteer and then the last two. So my Mega Dungeon project has always been a 6-parter. I am done 4 of those 6.
Wow.
So in the future years, you'll see what the last 2 look like, and that will complete the map. They're already plotted, they're named. I've got the outlines for them. It's a matter of drafting them and then playing through the key elements, and then extending that into publication notes, and then all that process. But you know, that's years down the road.
Okay. These
things take time.
Yeah.
So I must have your email. The winners of these 2, I must have your email attached to drive-through. Okay. So you got to get it to me, and then I'll get it to Greg for each winner.
Yeah.
Okay. So Hannah, you and I want to do shout outs on Wednesday.
We don't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We can wait. Yeah, it's only a couple
just one quick thing. One quick thing, and that is I want to thank those that really busted it this weekend and the last week or 2. We're good to go. This is going to be previewed at GaryCon, the Free City of Altamira. You know, this is going to be our prospectus box set. Atlanta's maps for Altamira and the surrounding areas. Oh yeah, beautiful stuff. And then real quick, I'm going to throw up the first page here, but it is coming. It is a reality. Thank you. There's all the crew. You got Norker, you got Troy, you got Savage Lee, Dan Smith Art. Anna, and I can't even say his name for a lot of the artwork that was done, but that's the crew. We've gotten this ready. It's going to be like 400 copies printed out for swag bags and handouts at GaryCon. So we'll show this a little bit more within like Wednesday night probably. We'll go over it a little bit more. All right.
Looking good.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yep.
All right. Here come the giveaways. Here we go. Closing it out. First winner gets the actual hardback book. Last call, 10 seconds. Watch the stream crash.
Well, it has
Thanks.
a tendency of crashing at
Thanks,
this moment.
Thanks,
so,
Stefan.
yep.
Yeah, we got it going. It's Troy cracked the whip on me and got me finally got me writing like I should.
Yep.
So we with all the other stuff going on. So yeah. Okay. Even Troy signed up. He wants this. Wow. Okay. That's good to see. Cannibal. All righty. Here we go. I'm closing it out. It's not rigged. You all know that. I have to say that.
Yeah. Except when
you know when
Dale,
when the bear wins it, like and everyone's gonna be like, it's rigged. It's rigged. Here we go. The first winner for the actual hardback. Retro Gamer Meth, Mike Saxton.
Oh,
as long
awesome.
as he's on, he's got to be on the claim. So
yeah.
Let's see if he's on. Is he claiming?
Yes, he's on.
All right, there you go.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Mike, just Discord me or whisper me, please. You know this drill. Next winner for the PDF.
Well, let's do books and PDF for both winners.
Oh my God! It was Dale. It was
awesome.
a shirt of bear. I just said it was gonna be
awesome!
him.
Congratulations!
Oh my God!
Dale. Yep.
All right, so both of you will get the hardback book and the PDF.
Yeah.
Dale, you lucky SOB. I can't even believe I said that. After we have 195 tickets of signups, and Dale wins again. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Dale and Mike, just get me those emails that are associated. Please, everyone, sit tight. All right, sit tight here. I'm going to close this out, and I got to do it in the same one. If you're interested in a badge, let's do that real quick. So we're going to raid into someone tonight, like usual. I'm going to pick it in a second. My voice is gone. Greg, thank you so very much for.
Thank you so much.
It's been such a pleasure.
Yeah, we have the community here is really, just really looks for. This is the kind of stuff that everyone gets real excited about.
Yeah.
So
this is an old. Yeah. A lot of old school. Almost everybody Greyhawk interested, and a lot of people are old schoolers, and. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's not letting me. This is weird. It's not letting me close this out. I'm going to just resume this. If you want to sign up and you haven't, do it right now. 10 seconds, and I'll pick 5. All right. I'm going to blow through 5 real quick here. And if you want, if you're already in, it's fine. It's not letting me close this out, so I'm just going to throw it on this one too. Thank you, Shattered. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Let me close this out. I'm going to pick 5 real quick. I think you're already in, sorry. You didn't need to redo. So here we go. Odysseus BB, Cardman, Brungale, Kama, and Sam. All right, you got that? It's logged here. So, all of you, if you know Josh Pop, get with Josh Zarathon. If not, I will be the intermediary. But you're able to get a virtual Gary Con badge for signups because there's going to be some great events. So. Greg, thanks. One last thing. In the future, you want to, if you're able to, you want to join us as a special guest in an Ed Greenwood game, in a 2-drink minimum game.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I've played in one of Ed Greenwood's games, and it was pretty awesome.
Good.
So I look forward to that. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the base group is Anna, Ed, Tony Winslow Brill, Eric Mengi, Eric Boyd. And that's the group of the characters, and then I bring in a special guest. Next time we're playing is at GaryCon, but after that we usually do it every 2 months or so. So if you're available on a Saturday evening, we'll get you into it, get you a character made up in my world, and jump you in with a story and plot line. You have to have you have to have 2 drinks.
Yeah, that's the minimum. Be awesome. Anna and I can team up and make it happen.
Yep.
Yeah, very, very cool.
Yep.
So we got a large viewing audience, and I haven't done them in a while. We're going to rate the tabletop notch. They got a large audience, so we're going to almost double it. So we're going to rate into them. Greg, thank you so very much. I hope you had a fun time. We really enjoyed this discussion.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Oh, one last thing. Next Sunday, Anthony Pryor's on. So we got Anthony Pryor, who wrote oh my God, my brain just shut off. Fritz Liebers. Lankmar. He wrote the Lankmar books for 2E, Rary the Trader, a lot of Battletech books I didn't even know about till the last second, and Patriots of Ulick, a couple other, a lot of other things. We'll have Anthony Pryor on next week. All right, we'll see you all. See you all Wednesday night for Legends and Lore. We're going to do Sunday and the southern area of the
on the wrong side of the map.
Yes, I call it the wrong side of the map because I don't use it. So
everyone
have a good night. Did I hit a wrong button tonight? I don't think I did.
No, not yet. So you still.
Oh man! One. So look at that. Sorry, went a little over, Greg.
Thank you, everyone. No problem.
Yeah, really good, really great audience tonight. So setting up the raid. Let's go to Tabletop Notch.
Thank you, George. Yeah.
Good. All right.
Thank you, everyone who watched.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah, Darling's not on tonight, so that's why I'm not raiding into her. She told me. She let me know ahead of time. All right, 125 going in. Awesome rate. 126. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everyone have a good night. Thank you. See you Wednesday. Just make sure.
Yep.